the other day I was pulling out the trash bag and she was like, yeah. And I was like, yeah. I'm getting the trash. I don't know what you're doing. Yeah is a big butt. And I didn't know that. She was like, yeah. I was like, no, I got yeah. I had no clue. So then I was like, please, you have no idea. I'm the Rizzler from way back. And she was like, oh, Mom, you're so cringe. I'm like, yeah, well.
If only we could all be cringe.
I know. Listen, anymore I aspire to be cringe because that means I'm doing my job as a parent. Because, when my parents were trying to be super in the know with everything that was going on, I was like, no, you can't say rad anymore, Mom. It's just not cool. But now I'm bringing that back. It's totally rad.
Because your dad's into jive. He's really into jive, right?
He's a jive turkey.
That's jive. I understand it. No. So. But this is Club Muddy as opposed to the Daily Muddy, or as we call it around here, the DM.
DMs.
Right?
Britt B slid into the DMs
She
yesterday.
did. Every Tuesday she slides into your DM. Or we show it on Wednesday. So.
Okay, but I read that and I'm like, Bob, do you know what DMs mean?
Mm-hmm.
I wasn't sure.
And I knew because I'm street.
Yes.
Yeah, he is street.
But that was clever.
He's also more than a pretty face.
Yeah, I'm not just eye candy. I'm not just your piece of meat.
He knows
Come on, I got some responsibilities around here I have to follow through.
Yeah.
She's trying to bump me off so she and David can take over. That's just not nice.
Oh.
It's ridiculous.
Yeah, well,
So we managed to have our one of our pretty regular pre-games at the liquor booth, and we want to thank Deuce and the booths for that as we came here beforehand because we're getting ready to celebrate our 3rd birthday. And when Muddy River first started, of course, it was Jim Rapp, Mike Kincher, and myself are the partners. But then the first 2 employees were David Adam and Brittany Bowl. Mm-hmm. So and then we were at the liquor booth, and they were one of our first. We had about 10 to 12 advertisers who basically took a leap of faith with us from the beginning.
Thank you.
And I think most of them are still on.
Whoop, whoop.
And, we were talking beforehand. If you haven't seen Brittany and Randy Phillips driving around the tri-states to every restaurant there is on the Taste of the Town segments, those have been very popular, and we've gotten a lot of feedback from those people, right?
Yes. I got one recently, and it made me feel really, really good. It was Floyd's 104. Steve Floyd messaged me and just said, hey, the uptick in people is obviously from the video, and just wanted to thank you for that. And I was like, no, thank you.
Yeah, thank you for for the partner. It's a partnership,
and
that's what
it's local businesses helping local businesses, and that's what it's about.
That's what we try to do with these. And yes, we are in a business, so it's like, okay, we'll accept your advertising dollars, but we're accepting your advertising dollars to help you and to drive home your service.
Yeah.
And we, a lot of people just run banners, that's fine. But if any client wants to come up and say, I got an idea, we're usually down to try it.
Yeah.
Right?
A nice thing about being locally owned is the leniency that we have behind it for our clients, which is also a lot of fun for me.
Very, very cool. And you guys do fantastic.
And having somebody in charge who's willing to go, yeah, sure, go ahead.
Yeah.
Sure.
You are a trial and error guy, which
is
one thing that I love about you, because sometimes we get so stringent in, the way that, I don't want to say we, but, as our culture is, it's like, well, if it's working, we can't change it.
David and I were having a discussion in the office the other day, and I admitted that something went wrong, and I took my share of the blame for it, but I also thought somebody else had done something that they should have done. And I said, look, I am not a micromanager. And David went, sometimes to a fault. And I went, yeah, okay, but now I'm going to step in and fix it. So,
I think you do a really good job. I think there is a nice balance, not only between responsibility, and so it's not only between the captain of the shipwreck, but also the crew, but between our personalities and everything that we're all, we all bring something different to the table. I think it's cool and different, and I love that you support that and nurture it. I think it's
sometimes
really cool.
I have to be daddy.
Gross.
Oh my God.
Disgusting.
Y'all love it when I do that.
Yeah.
So but it's again, I want this to be a nurturing workplace. I want it to be a creative workplace. I want us to throw everything against the wall and see what sticks.
Yeah.
That's what we want to do. And
seems to be working.
Yeah, we're gonna turn 3.
We have some haters.
Sure. Who doesn't?
But those haters they can't stop watching.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like,
Go ahead.
This sounds like kind of what our next guest is about to do or has already done is what you just said. Something kind of that you did, something different.
Yeah.
It's creative.
Trailblazing.
something
It's
important.
stuck. Yeah.
Trailblazing. Yeah. It's like when you don't see something that is going on, when you see a service that no one else is offering, offer that service. Don't be like somebody else. Do something unique.
Yeah.
And that is what will attract people. And again, I had another client meeting today, and they said, look, I'm with you guys because you say what other people won't say, and you do cool shit that other people won't do, and we want to be a part of that, and our partnership's been great so far. And I said, yeah, thanks. I said, it's a partnership. I mean, if you respond to us or we respond to you, you're like, hey, I want to promote this, we will do what we can to help you. I mean, we're not just going to show up and cash a check and walk away and run your ads and say, oh, sorry, your people didn't show up. We're going to try to make it to your events if you can. We're going to try to get video and bring people to your establishments. And again, it's about going and telling people it's going to happen. It's not necessarily we're going to be there all the time to like go to the event, although we'd like to be. Ashley promises to go to every guest that's on Daily Muddy.
You know what though?
Like,
in all honesty,
I'll be there.
In all honesty, I really do want to make it to everything, but I just can't. So when I do say that, it is in full honesty, and I have whole hopes to make it. But I was just going to say Daily Muddy is one of the things that I think kind of, so you guys do a lot of things where you tour around and you get advertisers and you do the things that make this possible. I get the fun kind of heart side of it, where I get to bring people in and talk about fundraisers and things that are really, really important to
new
people.
businesses.
Yeah, or new ventures, or just getting the word out about things that are really important to the community.
And the hundreds of events.
Yeah.
Like there really are hundreds and hundreds of events.
Yeah.
And
So when I say I have the best job here, I truly mean it.
Because we're just trying to get people to slide into the DM.
Yeah.
That's all we're trying to
Yeah.
do.
And speaking of, our guest is someone who's been on, multiple times, and we've gone on field trips to meet her. It's just one of the things that I feel very strongly about. I'm really proud of what she and her crew have done. And I think it's awesome that she has decided to join us tonight. I can't wait to learn more about her and her vision and her mission.
But I think we're going to talk more about than just that. We're going to talk about her in general because she's does a lot of good stuff and gotten to know her a little bit here over the last couple of years. And it's going to be a lot of fun, and I'm really looking forward to it.
She did say, I just want to be clear, I'm a nobody. And I was like, I wholeheartedly disagree. So she's humble and modest and amazing, and I can't wait to learn more. And I'm really excited. She is. Yeah, she's an amazing person.
Hey, it's 3 beautiful women today. How lucky I am.
Yeah,
so.
right?
All right, well, we'll be right back.
I don't even know where I am. Ooh, baby, get hyped to the beat. Let's go, cause this is our jam.
The Liquor Booth is your home for a huge selection of beer, wine, and spirits. The Liquor Booth has 2 locations in Quincy, 3520 Broadway and 1500 North 12th Street. The Liquor Booth, where it's always happy hour.
A&B Properties is Quincy's largest apartment rental company with hundreds of units available. They offer short-term and long-term rentals with 1 up to 4 bedroom apartments. A&B Properties meets the needs of its tenants with care, compassion, and a quality of service that exceeds expectations. A&B Properties also has a convenient tenant app for you to do your payments or make repair requests. Give them a call today. A&B Properties, 217-919-8080, Quincy.
So, Jen Wiemelt.
I'm
Welcome.
Slip you. I have a 20 in my purse for
Yeah.
you guys for that intro.
Hey,
Each.
here's what I will tell you. From the moment I met you, of course, Ole Miss Academy has always been like near and dear to. I mean, I love what you're doing, and anybody who's watched any Daily Muddy with Jen and I, or Jacqueline, or even the field trip that we went on. Even if you don't send your kids there, you have to appreciate the endeavor that you have undertaken. And you've done so in such a way that it should make everybody proud to be around you, to know you. But more than that, you're just a badass chick. I mean, you're just really friendly. You're intelligent. You're well-spoken, but you have a passion for children and education unlike the likes of anyone I've ever seen before.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I have another 20 for you.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, that was established beforehand. No, I'm kidding. So, Ole Miss Academy. when you started it, right? So Ole Miss Academy is a charter school in Quincy, Illinois.
Well, it's not charter.
It's
just
not?
a private school.
Okay.
No, charter schools are actually paid for by the state.
Okay.
So it's not a charter school. It's
Thank
just
you.
a private school.
Okay.
So, you know, why was I crazy enough to do this?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, yeah. So, you know, I have 7 children. 4 of them are my biological children. 3 of them are my stepchildren. All of them are the most amazing people I've ever met in my life. And I probably need to thank their fathers for that.
Yeah.
So cool. Yeah.
Yeah. So shout out to the dads.
Shout out to the dads.
Yeah.
But, you know, my kids have been educated in all different ways. They've been in private school, private Catholic, boarding school, public school, and I've homeschooled them. So, you know, you want to talk about the good, bad, and the ugly? Like, just educating kiddos is a messy venture, man. They're all different, and, you know, you're trying to just figure out, like, how do I reach you? How do I build that relationship with you? And I know teachers of all walks are battling the same thing. You know, that's a passion-driven profession. So, but it's like, what does work? You know, what do we see working? And so my boys went to a boarding school, and that was a classical education academy. So, you know, I really saw how classical education just made so much sense and what they could remember, and the conversations, the critical thinking skills, the debates. Oh my gosh, my oldest son and I would have was awesome. You know, I mean, we would just go toe to toe, and that kid should be an attorney. But, you know, I thank him for it afterwards. I'm like, that was so awesome.
Yeah.
Right? I love a good debate. And, you know, COVID happened, and everybody was highly emotional about COVID. We were really driven by fear. And I remember, like, just personally, you know, I'm a mom. I take that authority seriously. You know, I believe that that authority was given to me by God. And so I stand in front of the school boards, and I know they're in an impossible situation.
Mm-hmm.
But, you know, I'm emailing them. I'm asking questions. You know, I did my research, and it's just kind of a blank response back.
Yeah.
You know? And so I thought, okay. And I'm looking around at our community, and it's just, you know, this close-knit community is just being torn apart by this. And everybody's just afraid, and everybody doesn't know what to do, and we've never seen this before. And so, fine, what do we do with that? You know, there has to be a solution. You guys were talking at the opening about thinking outside the box. Well, you know, you surround yourself with intelligent enough people, there's lots of outside the box stuff. And that's exactly what happened. You know, we built a team of 9 initially, and of course that's grown from there. But, you know, let's provide something that's different that gives Quincy a choice. And I think choice provides that harmony, provides that peace, and, you know, restores us to being able to be neighbors and friends and, you know, responsible citizens again, for that matter. You know, that way we have that human connection again. We're not just, you know, screaming at each other across the street.
Yeah,
because
division.
we believe in different things, right? So, you know, Quincy already had public schools. We already have parochial schools. What didn't we have? Well, we don't have a classical school, and we did not have a private school that was not tied to a doctrine.
Yeah.
You know, I have nothing bad to say about any of those. I think they're all great. They all have their place, but choice brings harmony.
Yeah.
So my aunt was an educator for 35 plus years, and she said, I'm so happy that you were blissfully stupid about what you were getting into. Yes. Right? Right. And I cannot agree with that sentiment more.
Yes. Let's shout her out real quick.
Yeah. Miss Terry Fessler. She's my favorite aunt.
Oh my gosh.
On my dad's side.
Yeah. Whoop, whoop.
So Terry Fessler was a teacher at Baldwin School when my wife started.
Yeah.
And they have been friends ever since. They love each other dearly.
Yep.
So that was cool. I didn't know that. That's awesome.
She's amazing.
But when you talk about that, she was a teacher and then a principal and what have you. And, you know, those kinds of people are just so rare. Yeah. And they're getting rarer, unfortunately, because we have fewer people wanting to go into education. Sometimes, and it's not just the money, sometimes people are just demonized for it, and they shouldn't be, because it's not their fault. Some teachers are trying to go in and do their job and do what's best for their kids. And yeah, lots of times we have administrators in school districts who do not make the right choices. But when I look at, you know, for example, my wife, who's been teaching for more than 30 years in the Quincy Public Schools, and this week she had a sinus infection and so she took a rare sick day. I mean, I can't remember the last time she took one. And then she still wasn't getting better. And I said, you need to take another day. And she just fought me and fought me and fought me. And finally, one of her colleagues called her and said, yeah, take it. It'll be fine. Mm-hmm. So she did. So today she went back. And then she's just like, okay. And she just felt so guilty about it. And it's like, I get being guilty over taking a sick day. There are a lot of people who are built that way. It's like, but to see her and what she went and she hated doing it because she loves those kids so much. And again, she teaches special ed. She gets really tied and just so emotionally tied into these kids. But that's what a good teacher does. Yep. And I mean, I've been in your classrooms too, so I see that's what your teachers do. And that's what, if you're a good teacher and you give a damn about these kids, you're going to bleed with them, you're going to cry with them, and you're going to laugh with them.
Mm-hmm. And I think, I just want to preface this by saying that anything that's said is not against our educators. I was telling you before, because, we talk about the good, bad, and the ugly, and we know that there are things that are beyond the teacher's control, parents, accountability, stipulations, curriculum guided through indoctrination. I mean, there's just all kinds of stuff, right? But anything that is said, I have the utmost respect for educators. I know that they have a passion. It takes a special type of person to do that. I also know that there are things that tie their hands, and it could range from parents to, the curriculum that's handed down to them. Just a change in what we were talking about earlier, just the change in kids' psyche and their mental stability through, one of the things I asked you about was social media and how that impacts, kids of all ages. And, we talk about just the accessibility and the weight, the load that's put on them every day, right? And I was asking you about Snapchat and telling you that my oldest kid wanted to get on Snapchat, and she's 13, right? And all of her friends are on it. I'm like, I just don't know that you're ready for it. I just don't know that you're ready for it. So what do you think, I guess, so when you started Ole Miss, right, of course you wanted to do something different. And because you wanted to have choice, which I love, but you also wanted your parents involved, right? In what their kids and your kids were doing. How do you think social media has impacted the tough job that teachers have today? I know that's a really loaded question, but and even kind of just the mentality of students in general. And what do you see in your school?
I'm going to speak to that as a parent and what I see in the school, because, clearly I'm no expert on that. I'm just going to tell you what I see. As a parent, I have young girls that are kind of developing that inner voice, their frontal cortex and how they're going to speak to themselves the rest of their life. And you have no control over what happens on social media. And truly, we don't even have enough data,
right?
To understand the impact that this could have on the psyche of society. And so, and truly the data that we do have isn't great. And so, it's better to be safe than sorry. No, I don't want your inner voice being developed by social media. Right? You are great. You are human. You will fall. You will earn things. You will go through hard times. You will suffer. You'll have successes, right? That's just part of the human experience. It's the hero's journey, right? But social media takes this little bitty clip and either highlights it, goes viral, could destroy your life. As being in the school, what I see, we don't allow any personal electronics in the school.
Good.
So,
excellent.
Yeah, we don't.
Yeah, I think the public school system just did that.
A lot of them are cracking. Yeah, junior high.
Yes, I love it. I love it.
It's so great.
Yeah.
Because here's the deal. I can address bullying if I can see it. I cannot address bullying that's here, and it's so much more dangerous.
Yeah.
You have, and we all hear horror stories, and thankfully I have never come into personal contact with any of those, but they are horror stories.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Where someone was absolutely destroyed, and, they already have such a hard time with depression and anxiety in that generation. We don't need to be exacerbating that problem with social media. And I've told the students, if there's an emergency, your parents know how to get a hold of us. We will pull you down to the office. That's a more appropriate place to hear an emergency anyway.
Right. Yeah.
Not in the middle of a class.
Right.
Yep.
Yeah, on Facebook.
So, exactly. No, terrible.
Yeah.
Terrible. And so what we see is just this beautiful blossoming of friendships that wouldn't probably normally happen, right?
Yeah.
First of all, we're, preschool through high school. And so it's the most unlikely friendships, which are so fun to see. I'm not joking you. We have third to fifth graders playing with the junior high kiddos on chess in the morning. you think you're walking into like a hyped basketball game.
Oh God.
Oh my gosh, you're like, oh, it's a sick chest move, man.
Okay, so Jen, one of the
Okay,
things that,
okay.
that you said in one of our, past dailies was you have, these younger
please.
DMs. Yeah, sorry. So on our past DMs, you have these younger kids who are not only, thriving with the older kids because, of course, they're growing with them or from them, but you also have the older students who are learning, like, almost nurturing
Yeah.
to the younger kids. I think that's just so incredible.
Or, like one of the when you can turn around and teach someone something,
Yeah.
it's like the
Fulfilling.
final step of learning.
Yeah.
You can turn around and tell them, and it's so awesome to hear kids that have just gotten a concept. So it's brand new to them. Like, man, how many years back do I have to think? When did I learn that, and how did I
Oh,
get that,
God.
right?
Yeah.
But they just learned it, so they reach back down and they help each other up, which
Yeah.
is so cool.
Yeah.
It's just awesome.
I think that's the way you want your entire society to be. I know it's easy to look at it in a bubble, but I think that what you're doing is creating, a society of kids, even in this little bubble, that says, hey, we're just here to help each other out and to nurture one another and to teach people what we know and to help each other learn and grow. I think that's just super, super cool. So
Yeah.
I could fluff you all day long, but I just won't. I think it's just.
Thanks for sharing.
Yeah, no, I just think it's so cool. Yeah.
So when you start, I get asked this question all the time because we started a business very recently, as did you. Are you where you thought you would be right now,
Oh,
or are you
heavens,
farther
no.
beyond? You're farther beyond, right?
Yeah, I actually say this all the time because, first of all, I would be nothing without the people around me. They're
Sure.
the most amazing people I've ever met in my life. And I told Brittany Ashley earlier.
Yeah.
I think
I do it
Brittany
all the
too.
time.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
think
yeah.
Brittany too.
No.
I'm always the dumbest person in the room, and I'm happy to be that because you're constantly learning that way,
Yeah.
right? And so, brilliant people around. But, when it started, there was 9 of us, and because of life circumstances and things that have happened, a lot of them haven't been able to stay with us. And
Yeah.
so, we've picked other people up along the way, and no matter what, it's just they're always bringing something so incredible to this, which is just the most amazing thing to be a part of.
Are you?
I keep trying to exit.
Yeah.
And
You
then-
said that the other day. I was like,
I'm
there's no way you're going to
Why are you
exit.
gonna do that? Why?
I don't know.
Well, she wants to be less of so right now you're kind of, I don't even know how you would relate,
the
like a
administrator?
principal.
Yeah, so I'm the
Yeah.
director.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm the dean of students right now, the interim dean of students. I will tell you, like, frankly, I don't have very many qualifications for that.
Yeah.
I do love them though, and I
That's the best
build
one.
that relationship with them. And I'm a truth teller.
Yeah.
And so when they come in, it's not fluff. In fact, my staff makes fun of me when I even say that word. They're like, it doesn't even sound fluffy when you say it.
Damn it. So you're making fun of me because I was like, I could fluff her all day long. And that wasn't like bullshit. I mean, I could really just
Yeah.
sing your praises all day long. But go ahead.
But when they come in, if they really haven't given it their all, and I know that, well, they need to know that because don't you want genuine? It's so interesting to me, and this is something that I just have learned so much with them. Like, it takes very little genuine compliments to motivate a person.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When you give it to them, it's awesome.
Yeah.
You can see like them light up, and they're trying so hard, and that's the self-respect that no one can take from them.
Yeah.
And it's so cool.
But also, I think, and this is kind of where I go back to public school, and I know we're not going to bash public school again because I have the utmost respect for educators, but I think one thing, and this is just from me watching my kids as a parent, one thing I think that's lacking is accountability. So when you're talking about truth telling, I think it kind of, it breeds that accountability. Like, no, you didn't try your hardest. I don't know who you're trying to fool here. And I do that to my kids. Like, I know that in certain class environments and, even with sports and things and everybody gets a trophy and it's like, you're not helping these kids by telling them that it's okay, better luck next. No, like, here's what you're capable of. And I think one of the downfalls, and regardless of why, it's like we've just gotten so soft with our kids. It's like, just be honest with them,
Yeah.
be truthful with them, because that they yearn for the acceptance, but also the genuine, compliments and the things. And if they're not trying their best, it's your job to tell them that they can do better. When my kid brings home C's, I'm like, dude, really? you're a genius. You can do better. You just have to apply yourself. So I hope that, and educators have an impossible job, like you said earlier. I know that. But I would hope that at some point they'd be like, dude, come here. Quit messing around.
Yeah, one of the advantages that we have, though, is because we're so small.
Yeah.
We try to keep that 15, 18 to 1 ratio, kind of depending on the age group. And, that's pretty powerful because then we're able to develop those relationships, which is so important. And, not through any fault of anyone's, but when you have big classes and there's a teacher shortage, you kind of are in an impossible situation that we're not in. And so, we're able now when I have to tell the students, or when the teachers have to tell the students, like, no, this isn't your best, but what's happening? What tools do you need?
Yeah.
We're not going to send you out
resources
on the battlefield without armor or without tools or without, whatever. You need to be equipped. And so if we haven't done that, or if you're going through something that needs like a human connection, sure, we'll talk about that.
Yeah.
Honesty is the best policy. And it's really interesting. One of my teachers, she was like, we had a teacher training, and she said, children do not learn from people they don't like. And you're like, blows your mind, right?
Yeah.
But it's so true. So you think back to your own
your favorite teachers,
education.
Yeah.
And you're like, there's some definite ones that stick out, and you're like, why? Maybe they were strict, but they believed in you.
Yeah. You
they
respected
pushed you.
them.
They knew what you were capable of, and they told you, even if they didn't say it out loud, like, you can do hard things. Here's the tools to do that.
So so are we getting ready to your second?
Nope,
Wrap your third.
Yep, we're wrapping up the second.
Wrapping up the second.
Yeah.
So the kids that are graduating, then what have they been doing? Where are they going? What are they
Well, first,
doing?
what age does it go? So it goes from kindergarten through all the way through?
Pre-K through senior,
Pre-K
right?
through.
Yeah.
Okay.
So what are those kids? What are your graduates doing now?
They haven't. I don't have any graduates. The first two
No graduates
graduates
yet,
of
okay.
Almas Academy will be my 2 daughters.
Oh, okay.
How special.
That's
And
cool.
It's really cool.
That is so
Well, you got to stick
cool.
around for them.
That is really cool.
And
I
that's
guess
going to be
we'll-
this year or when?
She's not going
Next year.
anywhere.
Next year. Good.
She's not going anywhere.
Good.
Well, every time I try it, the door gets slammed on me. So
I get it. I understand.
Well, and again, I think it's so, like you said, it's so important for that connection because, and again, positive reinforcement is one thing, and every once in a while that kid's going to need the reality check, like you said, the truth telling. Because we had it where I had one of my kids, and maybe I will call him out. Let's see how the story goes. Sat down in his, well, that narrows it down. It's one of two, high school English class, and says, why do you think Schmalix is struggling? I said, because he's lazy. And he goes, you would be correct.
Yeah.
And I said, don't be lazy. And he's kind of like,
Yeah.
And he did. And then we had another discussion with Schmalix and his other teacher, Matthew Fooley, and she was just he's like, he has so much talent, he has so much ability. I'm like, I know, right? But because he was like, wanted to play baseball, I want to do this. And I said, finally he realized that, let's see, if I don't play, and he hurt his knee playing baseball too. So, I think he hurt his knee playing football, then hurt again playing baseball. But then he's like, wow, I can be in show choir and choir, and I don't have to sweat as much, and there's girls. So I think he realized that, and he's doing okay now. So, I think every once in a while, the kids just need to buckle down.
Yeah, but
don't pat them on the head all the time.
Don't be like, okay, everything's fine. So this was another question I had for you, because when I was growing up, and maybe everything that I'm seeing now is because I'm a parent, and everything is more apparent, right? Everything is more accessible. I can see things that maybe I didn't notice when I was going through school. But parent accountability, or holding your kids accountable, is a big part of, I think, helping them through life in any situation. Like, the more you say, oh, it's not your fault, it's somebody else, then you're creating this generation of just no integrity,
No
right?
accountability.
No accountability, no nothing. So, and I see it more and more. And I've talked to teachers in my daughter's schools, and they're like, case in point, I had one of my oldest daughters, again, she's in junior high, one of her teachers called me and said, I'm so sorry to have to make this phone call. And I said, first of all, let me stop you there. If you are calling about an issue with my daughter, never apologize to me, because I think that's a little asinine. I'm sorry that you're having to make this call because I know it's not comfortable for you.
Right.
No teacher wants to call a parent because you never know how the parent's going to react. But I was just like kind of taken aback, like, why are you apologizing? Your whole class was disrupted.
Because teachers are shell-shocked that every parent's going to say little Jimmy or little Jenny is
Do nothing wrong.
perfect,
Yeah.
and they didn't do anything wrong. So it's refreshing for them to get a parent who goes, yeah, he or she is not doing what they need to
Now
do.
listen,
Kick
I'm
'em
a
in the
mama
ass.
bear. I'm a mama bear. When something is going wrong and I see it, blatantly, I will attack. But when my kid is being disrespectful or disruptive, I need to know about that.
Consequences are great for
Amen.
kids. It makes them good people.
Yeah, amen.
If you raise a child, or if you're, parents, parents are raising children. If you protect your children from all consequences, you are doing them such a big disservice because there just are consequences in life.
Everywhere.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Everywhere.
So they have to learn that. And they have to learn that while you are still there to help regulate that.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, they can be kicking and screaming and, crying and think that's unfair. Fine. You're regulating them.
Yeah.
You're still the safety net under them. You don't want to not have them experience that and learn how to regulate and then turn them out in the world.
Yeah.
Then what?
Big consequences.
Then what?
See, this is what we tell my kid, and not to strike the fear of God in her, but it's like, when you don't recognize what you've done wrong in this situation, do you think you're going to go to a job or a judge and say, well, it's not my fault. They did this before I did. It's like, do you think anyone's going to give a shit that you don't think you did anything wrong? No, it just doesn't happen like that. Life is not that easy. So, sorry. The one question I had was, I'm sure Ole Miss still probably sees a little bit of that, but do you think that part of kind of the change in the school system, whether public, private, parochial, is due to parents? Is that a fair question?
I don't know, Ashley. Truly, I think that when parents know, they do it.
Or
Right?
involved.
But sometimes we just don't know.
Yeah.
I don't ever mean to do anything that hurt my children, but sometimes I do because I'm human. And,
Yeah.
and I may not know.
Right.
There's so many people that, they're busy and they're stressed and they're going through their own hard stuff and they're having a hard time regulating themselves. And so, they don't know. And in that instance, I think they need that human connection. And so that community at Ole Miss is also very important to me. So we're helping support each other.
Yeah.
Because I think that was the most pointed thing I noticed through COVID is how isolation hurts us so bad.
So bad.
Right? And so, okay, then you take that and you say, all right, this community is really, really important. So, I make it a point to reach out and talk to the parents directly when they have concerns, and so does my staff, but then they're building those relationships too, which are super important. Suffering is just part of the human condition, but when you have community, it softens that blow, and we can start to help each other, and that's just a beautiful part of being human. So
I also think that in your situation and in any, I hate saying this, but in any situation where the parents are writing an additional check other than their property taxes for that education, sometimes they do feel more ownership and they are going to be more involved. And I'm talking whether it's St. James, whether it's the Catholic schools, whether it's you guys. They write that, they're already, well, I'm already paying X thousands of dollars for property taxes for a school I don't use, so I'm going to write this extra money because for whatever reason they're going, and I'm assuming every parent that does that is doing it for their kid's own benefit. But to get there and to do that, you would hope that they would, since they're making that extra investment, they are going to follow through with not only a financial investment, but an emotional investment as well.
Yeah.
No doubt. I mean,
It's a literal investment.
We do lay out that philosophy. We're very transparent about that when parents tour, like what we expect for them, how we want them to partner. We make sure we do run background checks on parents just to make sure that there's nothing there that would make them unsafe. To be around kiddos, because I think every other parent wants to know that.
Absolutely.
But then once that happens, man, we want you in that school. And even some of our junior high kids, they're like, mom's here? Gross.
Ew, cringe.
Takes about exactly.
Yeah,
exactly,
dude, it happens.
Exactly.
Yeah.
2 or 3 times of that happening, all of a sudden that drops. We have made being a nerd really cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's so awesome.
I love that.
Yeah.
And this sort of tails off on something else that is now apparently an issue coming around. Apparently, a lot of the It's been happening at other places, but it's starting to happen here in Quincy as well, where parents will send their kids to parochial schools, and the parents and the families aren't regularly attending Mass. Mm-hmm. And now the schools have started to say, hey, we're going to start keeping track of when your families and your kids are at Mass.
Oh.
And some parents are kind of like, what?
Was it a prerequisite?
It was always sort of
With
an
unspoken
unwritten rule
Yeah,
before.
I don't like those.
And
Lay it
now
out.
they're saying, yeah, you need to be in Mass.
I mean, if it's going to be a written rule, but don't judge me, because everybody
I
has
do wanna
shit
correct
going
that.
on.
I think it is a written rule because
Is
my
it?
kids did go
Okay.
to parochial. Yeah, they did go to parochial, and
But they just didn't enforce it?
Well, and part of the reason why they want that, guys, is because, the churches are helping support the schools. So you can understand where they're coming from. Here.
Right.
Like the
they're
tithing?
Yeah.
Okay.
So
But
they
I also
get a
know people
discount.
who, my tithe is paying that kid's tuition. So if they're sitting in the pew on Sunday, they're not going to write another check. I know a lot of people who are like that. Mm-hmm. So, but again, I just thought that was interesting. And I've always felt, being Catholic, it's like, yeah, if my kids are going to be parochial school, yeah, I probably ought to be in Mass a good majority of the time.
Well, I mean, you should believe why you're sending your kids to a parochial school, and you should want to be, I think.
I totally
Yeah.
agree. But apparently it's starting
But
to
I didn't
become a
realize
thing.
it was creating like a
little bit of angst, I think,
yeah.
from some people. So, but and again, I'm not 100% sure. You might be right on that, but I think that now they're sort of cracking down on it a bit.
Well, and once again, I mean, I can understand where they're coming from because
Sure.
if the church is subsidizing the
school.
tuition,
I didn't realize that.
okay, well
Yeah.
then your tithing at church on Sunday is helping subsidize that as well. And so,
Yeah, even your dollar
Yeah.
that I throw in. Yeah.
Yeah,
Get your
exactly.
presence, or just your presence. I mean, that's the
Just
thing.
your-
Be
your
there.
back.
That
Backing,
40
right?
bucks you earned earlier.
Yeah, into the tithing basket.
Yep, there you go.
So one of the things, and this is from a public school standpoint, and I don't know my head from my ass when I'm talking about this, so please don't take it as
You could have just stopped and just said,
okay. But no, so one of the things since COVID, and I don't know if it's just since COVID, but so my younger kid goes to middle school, and they have different houses, right? And it was made to be cool by making them like Harry Potter houses, like different names and different colors and stuff, which I understand. I thought it was kind of, at first I was like, oh, this is so cool. You guys are going to have like competitions stuff and really, really cool. Then when my oldest kiddo went to junior high, it turned into colors. So they have like blue, white, yellow. And I was still like, okay, it's going to make it manageable, blah, blah, blah. But I find myself saying, why do you only have to go to like third floor and on this side of the building? I had to go from first floor to fourth, and my locker was on second. And, and I'm running around. And at first it was almost like back in my day type thing, right? So I was like, back in my day, right? And Luke and I are really good at this. But then it became, well, someone got in trouble for visiting my child's locker in a different color. And I was thinking, is that helping or is it hurting? Because I kind of looked at it before I spoke to you as almost a weird way of segregating our kids or pinning them into different, I don't know, like kind of segregating them, right? And I don't even know.
Caste system.
Yeah, so it's like, well, you can't go with this group, or we're gonna have penny wars against, we're gonna pitch you against this other team. Which listen, I think friendly competition is really, really good until you have kids who are like, they're going home, right, and they're in this house that maybe they can't send a bunch of change or they can't bring a bunch of things, and this goes against my thing too, because I'm like, I don't think everybody deserves a trophy, but I also don't think we should highlight the kids who can't help their
Fully participate in the thing.
right.
Yeah.
So then I'm like, I'm so torn on these houses. I really want your input on this.
Oh man, I don't know how much I can speak to that besides to play devil's advocate here.
Yes, please.
When you are talking about that many children whose frontal cortexes are not developed, we're still talking about how we govern ourselves and, choose right from wrong and are respectful to our peers. How else do you manage them?
Yeah.
That's a lot. And I don't think it can be overstated enough. Like, that teacher shortage is a real thing.
It is.
It takes bodies to manage kids, and they have to use whatever system, and I would challenge you, if you have a better system, I go pitch it to them.
Well, it's not-
because I know that they're probably going, how do we keep kids safe? How do we minimize bullying? How do we, keep some semblance of order? Because people can only operate in chaos for so long.
Yeah.
They need order, and so how do you provide that?
Yeah. So, and thank you, because I do totally respect. I mean, because I don't know. Again, I don't know shit about. Okay, so but then I go to other schools in Illinois, and I
She's
see
really
the same.
smart. I'm just blowing her shit.
No, but and I go and I see the other things, and I'm like, I can't help but think it's a directive passed down, right? And it's like, well, what's the ultimate goal here? And maybe it is manageability. That could be a thing, but I don't think there's been enough questions asked about it, and I don't think there's been enough conversation about it because it seems cool or it seems as a manageability thing. So when I'm looking at from a parent standpoint, when I was back in the old day running up and down the thing, or everybody was together, so I'm like, well, and I'm not saying it's because I am a tinfoil hatter. I think we all know that, but I'm not saying that it is. Shut up. I'm not saying that it is something that is, driven down. Yeah, I'm saying it is driven down, but I just don't know why, and I don't know why it was so widely accepted so easily. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? So my whole foundation is question everything, especially when it comes to your kids. And I think you definitely agree with that. And that's probably the foundation of Ole Miss.
Absolutely.
Right? Yeah.
Absolutely. One of the things that we do to kind of, meet the culture where it is, that would be the best way to put it, right? Is we do virtue training at the school. And so we're talking about temperance. We're talking about gratitude. We're talking about fortitude. We're talking about prudence. What do those things mean, and how do they apply to you academically? And self-governance is also a huge thing. And I'm going to tell you right now, when you give this to kids and raise that bar for them, they want to meet that.
Yeah,
they want to do it.
Yep.
And so, we tell them all the time, you can do hard things. And growing in virtue, which is philosophically just the mean between the extremes, right? It's the middle between two extremes.
Sure. Mm-hmm.
And so, those are hard. Those are hard for all of us. And so, what tools do you need? We're going to keep talking about it. We're going to keep practicing this. But that self-governance is huge.
Yeah.
Right? I can actually tie that back to even being part of a constitutional republic. Right?
Yes.
Self-governance is huge.
Yes.
There has to be some sort of understanding in this social contract that allows us to live together in harmony.
Yeah.
Even with differing opinions. And so, it starts, I think, with that academic virtue. It starts there, and it starts with being able to self-govern. And that takes us a lot longer to establish than just, your traditional punishment.
Yeah.
But so worthwhile because
Yeah.
you're starting to really see them grow as humans, which is so cool.
Funny enough, I was just having a conversation with Shane, our new employee, and he was like, if you're the smartest person in the room, you're in the wrong room. And he said, I forget who said that. It was Confucius. Mm-hmm. And I fully agree with that. And I think the fact that you started this conversation with you love debating tells me everything I need to know about you because you're not scared of it and you enjoy it. And that means you're open-minded. And I love that about you. Mm-hmm. And I think if I could wish anything on anyone in today's society, it would be open-mindedness and being willing to be wrong and learn and do things a little bit differently for the greater good of our society, our kids, and our entire community and world, right? I think that's what you guys are doing at Ole Miss, and probably why I love and respect you so much. And even though you said you're not super important, I will disagree. I will debate that on every front until the day I die. So cheers to you. Cheers to everything you guys are doing at Ole Miss, and thank you for joining us. You're one of the best.
Appreciate
Cheers.
it.
Thank you, guys. Thank you for having me.